The challenge with artificial intelligence is that it's not some kind of killer robot that's coming to get us. It's a system of automated decisions that use our data. And without our realizing it, every day, these systems are making more and more decisions on our behalf. And in the process of doing that, these systems are becoming smarter, faster, more powerful. It's more important than ever for everybody to have a firm understanding of what all of this means and how it could unfold if we stay on our current path. And the challenge is that I think our current path is a bad one. I'm not worried about the robots taking over. What I'm worried about is that our lines of digital communication get significantly fragmented. You know, like the internet is currently fractured. So like what people have access to in Russia and in China is very different from the rest of the world. But because of the GDPR, what people have access to in Europe is now different from what we have access to in the United States. So we already have systems of incompatibility. All of our data are currently being funneled into, for the most part, Google, Amazon, and Apple. And that's not just in the United States, that's everywhere. These systems are not interoperable. So my concern is that over time, there's this big compounding effect. And while we're trying to sort out all of the details here, China is building a new world order, one in which, there are vulnerable countries all around the world, some of which already have authoritarian leaders that we get locked out of. So there's something called the Belt and Road Initiative, which is essentially an infrastructure project that is linking China with part of its the old Silk Road trading partners. And what China has done is gone into different countries and helped build and repair roads, build new bridges. So it seems very much like China is doing diplomacy using infrastructure and debt. However, in the process of doing all of this, China is also deploying fiber. It's building out giant digital infrastructure networks. It's deploying 5G and small cells. It's helping get countries that may be vulnerable in different ways up and running and online. If we frame what China is doing in that context, and we look at who some of their partners are and how many countries have signed up to benefit from the windfall of all of this technology and all of the data mining, it's impressive. China has consolidated power, and whether or not they will be able to sustain a lot of these programs, we don't necessarily know. Now, contrast that to what's happening in the West. The federal government has stripped a lot of funding out of basic science and technology research. And so essentially, we're asking these companies to build out our own futures. And the challenge is that there's a tension between what the really smart people inside of these companies are trying to do to push forward and advance the technology with the expectations of Wall Street and the constant demand for productizing and monetizing our data and automated systems that make decisions on our behalf. And then whatever Washington, D.C., whenever it decides to pay attention, what people are thinking there. So my concern is that AI, the developmental track that AI is currently on in the United States and China, within the context of all of these other things that are happening, is setting us up for a world in which we're alive, but man, we're miserable. You know, we're being nudged in ways we don't want to be nudged. We're being locked out of things we don't want to be locked out of. Wars of the future are fought in code, not traditional combat. Nobody has to drop a bomb on anybody. No country in the world has to physically destroy land to destroy the way that society functions. One of the challenges is that we have to be willing to make short-term sacrifices in the name of long-term gain. There's an expectation of fast products, and if you don't create some kind of brand new whiz-bang thing, as though R&D can be scheduled to align with quarterly presentation decks, right? If that doesn't happen, there's a sense that your company is somehow failing. Businesses need to get smarter about the decisions that they're making. Investors need to give everybody a little time. And we as individuals need to think about what it is that we are sacrificing in the name of cool apps, right? We have to get smarter about how and where and why our data are being used. I believe there is a different path forward. I believe that there is a way for us to have all of the benefits that we've been told about AI and to get excited. AI doesn't, like AI can also do really cool things like make new music, right? And like entertain us and delight us and surprise us. I want all of that. But I think for us to get there, we have to start making smarter decisions, and we have to collaborate and conspire together in the best interest of everybody who is alive on the planet.